Right, time for round two, and it looks like we're on for a 6 summer in the UK, which I'm extremely gassed about. I'm going to keep this one a bit snappier because I know how bored you all got in the last one. Focusing on pull today and hopefully getting you to think about why we do certain pull exercises in relation to building specific muscles and how we can derive this information from the orientation of the muscle fibers in our back. So firstly, to define pull, we mean either pulling a weight towards your body, like in a horizontal row where you're pulling the attachment towards your torso, or pulling your body towards an object, like a fixed object, like in a pull-up where you're pulling your upper chest towards the bar. Just like before with pushing, obviously we've got a 180 degree range in which our range of motion in which we can pull things towards us. So from directly above, from directly below, and then from anywhere in front of us as well. So obviously that's where you get your pull up and pull down from. That's where you're getting your horizontal rows, and this is where you're getting your upright rows. And again, simply from employing a range of exercises within this range, that's what's going to give you a well-rounded and functional physique. And we're going to go through all these muscles briefly now, just so that when we move on to the exercises, you can see how it ties into the exercise selection. Starting with the main section of the back, you can see there's two major muscle groups which provide the major strength and aesthetic impact of the back, and that is the latissimus dorsi, or the lat, and the trapezius, or the trap as we'll call it. There's obviously loads of muscles under the surface which contribute as well to the functional and strength impacts of performing pulling exercises, but just by focusing on these two, this is what's going to give us the information to derive our pull workouts. Starting from the lat, you can see the attachment runs from the armpit down and back towards the mid and lower section of the back. And as they tend towards the armpit, you can see they get more and more vertical. So hence the function of the lat is to bring the arms down and back, as you can see. Then looking at the lower trap, you can see these fibers will be involved in pulling downwards due to their orientation, again facing in a more vertical plane. And then as you move on to the mid trap, you can see they're more horizontal and hence more involved in pulling from directly in front of you. Then the upper trap slopes upwards from the shoulders to the neck, as you can see there, and hence those fibers are aligned in a way that helps pull things upwards. Onto the shoulders, we've got the posterior delt, otherwise known as the rear delt, which is the primary part of the shoulder involved in drawing the elbow behind you. And then on the arms, you've got the biceps, so two heads on the bicep, much like the tricep, obviously called a tricep because of the three heads. Bicep is called the bicep because of the two heads for bi. And both those heads in the bicep are involved in bending your elbow. Excellent, so let's jump into the exercises. So I went into the gym and I filmed a range of exercises that could build a typical workout across this 180 degree range, and I'm going to talk you through them now, starting with the pull-up. So around the 10 degree range, and the reason that it's not 0 degrees is because you're not pulling directly above you. Your upper back should be angled slightly outwards, so you're pulling a tiny bit in front of you and then upwards as well. So as we spoke about in terms of the orientation of the lat, is absolutely perfect, and the main muscle that you're targeting when you're doing your pull-ups, as you can see, as we're driving the elbows down and back. And when you're doing a pull-up, you should think about putting your elbows in your back pocket. That's a good mental cue. Obviously the rear delt and the medial delts are slightly engaged as well, as you can see in the video, and of course the biceps, as you'll expect in every pulling exercise. Then on to a pull down variation. So this one, I'm very lucky to have this machine in the gym I'm training at currently, but this is what I've called around 40 degrees, at the 40 degree mark. And as you can see, it's still pulling down and getting a great stretch on the lat, but more in front of us now. So we're incorporating even more of that lower trap, as we talked about the way those fibers are aligned. And of course, you can see the medial delt and the rear delt are a little bit activated as well, as is the bicep. Moving on to 90 degrees, so here I've put a seated row, and again there's so many variations, machine, barbell, dumbbell, that you can do. This is a machine row, and I'm pulling pretty much from bang on in front of me, which is going to be engaging that mid part of the trap. All of the fibers that are aligned horizontally in your back are going to be working hard to get this weight behind you. Obviously rear delts and biceps again as well. Moving down, I've selected a machine that's around the 120 to 130 degree range. I don't typically train on this machine, but again, just giving an example of the type of machine that you can use, that's pulling from slightly lower underneath you and then driving upwards. So you can see I'm really contracting my upper traps here, as the further underneath you're pulling from, the more of the upper trap you're going to be engaging. Cool. And finally, at around the 160 to 180 degree mark, we've got the rack pull. So Another option here is the upright row, which I referenced slightly earlier on in the video, but I love the rack pull because A, it gives your biceps a rest if you want to incorporate a rack pull halfway through your pull workout, and equally you can properly load it up. So I've got 140 kilos on the bar here, and that's going to put a lot of tension through that part of the trap that connects your shoulder to your neck, which is going to be consistently under tension as you're lifting up that weight, as you can see. Some closing points then to round everything off. So you don't need to mess around with isolation exercises like your rear delt flies and your lat pullovers. Prioritize your compound movements, prioritize progressive overload in your compound movements. I've never done either of these two exercises as I just don't see it as enough value for time. Point number 2, the only isolation for this muscle group that you may want to add on at the end, other than the stuff we've spoken about, is bicep curls. So if you're trying to focus on your arm size a little bit, then add that in. Point number 3, you need to make sure you're selecting a variation of equipment type. So for a horizontal row, there's so many options. You've got a pendlay row, bent over row, cable row, chest supported machine row. How many times can I say row? Inverted row as well, inverted like bodyweight row. All of these are a great option in hitting the same muscles, very similar muscles in a slightly different way. So, you know, use a variety of these. As you're going through the angles in a workout, make sure you're using a variety of machine, barbell, dumbbell, and the rest of it. You get the idea. And then just point number 4, that's 4. Just like point number 3 I just mentioned there, use a spread of these angles. So that's the whole point of this video. Make sure you're doing something in the vertical range, something in the horizontal range, and then something from below as well, and then maybe even multiple of each, like in the example session that I'm going to give in a second there. And point number 5, because I'm super nice, I've prepared, just like last time, an example session. So that's your reward for getting to the end of my stuttering today. So screenshot those if you're interested in giving them a go. And that's everything. So you can go away now, and please subscribe, because look how hard I'm working. Thank you very much. See you later.